Welcome to the Scottish Highlands, home of some rather dramatic scenery, some invigorating roads and the UK launch of the new updated Mazda 3. Mazda are a company that are not just about the practicality and functionality of their product, but also the driving sensation. From little things like the Mazda 2 all the way up to the Mazda 6 and the old Mazda 5 MPV, they've always been great drivers' cars. Practical, yes. Functional, yes. Reliable, yes. But also something that maybe puts a smile upon your face when you're driving roads such as this. And so the Mazda 3 in its practical hatchback form here maybe is a very good demonstration of the company's ethos. This particular car is the new facelifted model, as mentioned. You'll see that it has a new updated deeper grille, a slightly sportier front bumper, reshaped rear bumper, and overall it provides a rather athletic appearance for this family car. I love the dynamic lines that start at the headlights and run down the side of the car. It's unique, it looks different to all of its competitors, but the biggest changes are to be found here in the interior. Now the Mazda 3 interior was great anyway, it's quite an interesting place to be, it wasn't just a bland sea of grey, but now we've got an increase in quality of materials. We've got leather inserts that run down the centre here and neat stitching that goes across the door cards. Overall there's a more premium feel to the interior, and this is very much where the company's going. It's chasing upmarket, it's chasing more expensive competitors. In the centre console you'll find Mazda's really rather ergonomic infotainment display that's controlled by this nice sort of joystick and shortcut button arrangement down here. This top specification model gets some really nice, rather sporting leather seats. They hug your ribs quite nicely and they sit rather low in the chassis, so you get that sporting feeling of the car from the moment that you step into it. Another thing that marks a slightly more sporting characteristic in comparison to competitors is the fact that the rev canter is slap bang in the middle, which is great because it means that you can keep a focus on, well, some things that really matter. Whenever you're really getting a lick on around some twisty country roads, it's not the speedometer that you should be looking at. You want to keep the car in the power band. Heading rearward, you'll see that the rear bench seats 3. There's good head and leg room for the 2 outermost passengers, but the middle passenger does have to contend with a bit of a transmission hump. Bootspace is 364 litres, which is actually larger than a Ford Focus. Under the bonnet of our new Mazda 3 is a 2-litre naturally aspirated petrol engine, because you see Mazda have this ethos that turbocharging isn't necessarily the best way to gain efficiency. So their new 2-litre SkyActiv engine, naturally aspirated, and it means you get really nice, crisp, immediate throttle response from the car. This engine produces 118 brake horsepower and do 0 to 62 miles per hour in 8.9 seconds. Its top speed is 121 miles per hour. This engine absolutely loves to rev, and of course that's where all the power is in this naturally aspirated unit. Mazda 3's always been right up there in terms of handling. It's just such an endearing little car to throw around. The chassis is just very in tune. It's a very dynamic setup. So the turn-in is really precise. You can place the car exactly where you want it in the road, like a sports car than what it has, a family hatchback in that respect. It doesn't feel particularly heavy. The brake pedal just offers this great level of feedback, which means you can modulate it really easily. The 6-speed manual transmission in this model, really short, sharp shift, again, very sports car-esque, not a million miles away from MX-5 in feel. It feels intuitive, it feels playful. But something that this new Mazda 3 has that its predecessors haven't had is something called G-vectoring. And instead of having your, well, now rather typical torque vectoring, it goes one step further, and it's a little bit more intelligent use actually of the technology. So as you turn into the corner and the steering starts to weight up, in 0.5 of a second, torque mapping is changed very slightly, which shifts weight forward in the car. This in turn pushes the front wheels a little bit harder into the tarmac, which sets the car up for the corner. It means you get the most grip out of the front tyres, and it turns in a bit more precisely. And whilst you can't really feel it at work, it goes on in the background. All of the science points to this means that you have to make less adjustments through the corner. You can be much more precise with the inputs that you're making. I have to say, things like that, it's really clever tech, and Mazda is certainly pioneering that. And when you're done hooning around in the Scottish Highlands, the car goes back to being a perfectly affable family hatchback. It's relatively comfortable. Yes, it does ride a little bit firmer than competitors, but that should trade for the keen handling that we've experienced earlier. But I have to say, the refinement levels have actually been improved. It's notably quieter actually than its predecessor. That's thanks to more sound insulation. Visibility is pretty good all the way around, and relatively light control weights means that it's not very taxing to drive on a day-to-day basis. But of course, when you're done dropping the kids to school, it's very happy to drop a gear and have a bit of a play. Mazda say on your best behaviour you can do 55.4 mpg and emit 119 grams per kilometre of CO2. So the new Mazda 3 looks sharper, drives sharper, and from 17,595 is certainly competitive with the competition.
Thanks very much for watching, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for all of the latest and greatest cars to hit the road. For breaking news and written reviews, visit www.insidelane.co.uk.